Let's bring in Tim Cowlishaw, Dallas Morning News. More importantly, the star of Around the Horn. Tim, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, and if you want to just read my entire column, I'm fine with that. I think your listeners are fine with that.
Is it better than having you on that I just read your column?
I would think it'd be a hell of a lot better, but since you went the other direction, they were, that 11-game streak that not only made Dak Rookie of the Year and made this team think they had their future, it made Tony Romo a broadcaster. Because without that 11-game winning streak, Romo would have eventually got his job back. But they couldn't bench Dak the way they were winning. But since then, you're right. That's what I wrote about. They're 11-11. They've gone back to being the very average Jason Garrett team that we've seen for so many years. And it just seems like offensively everything has to be perfect or it doesn't work. If they miss Zeke, it doesn't work. If they miss Tyron Smith, it doesn't work. And even part of it was Dez had 300-yard games in that 11-game winning streak, and he never had a 100-yard game all last year. He never had one since. So once he kind of disappeared as a threat, then, a lot of this stuff that worked for Dak Prescott went away.
I don't know what the expectation level was in Dallas because I saw anywhere from they could win the division to they're going to be a 7-9 team. I thought they would be an average team. I thought if they got to 8 wins, maybe 9 at the most, that would be a good year for this team. I just don't think they're a formidable team. I don't know if anything changes with that, but that was my feeling going into the regular season. Do you see them as an average team this year?
I picked them 7-9, but to go 7-9. But of the 10 people we had in the Dallas Morning News selectors box, thank you very much for reading. I was the only one under 500.
Okay.
I think there were a couple 11-5s, 2 or 3 10-6s, a bunch of 8-8 and 9 and 7. So and even the Vegas odds were 8.5 wins. So they were seen as average, but hey, Zeke's back. It could go back to being a little like 2016, but I don't think very many people around here thought they're going to get back to 12-4 or 13-3. They just thought they'd be good, and obviously they still could be. But that first game was not a great indication of being a good team.
Do you think Dak Prescott is a franchise quarterback?
No, I think he's a guy who. That's going to be the hardest decision is that second contract. Once you give a guy that, I was looking over the weekend, Derek Carr, Garoppolo, Roethlisberger all had 3 interceptions. I think Stafford threw 4 Monday night. Those are guys who eat up a ton of your, once you get that second contract and you're up around $20 million, you eat up the salary cap for your team. Dak doesn't count anything right now. That's why I think they've made such a big mistake not being more aggressive in free agency after that 13-3 season and trying to follow the Russell Wilson Seattle mode. Hey, let's win while we've got a cheap non-first-round pick at quarterback. Let's load up around him. And they've gone the complete other direction. Let's try to just be young everywhere. Let's not even go get Earl Thomas. And so I don't think that's worked. But as far as Dak being a franchise quarterback, that's what this season is all about, and I think that's hard to call it. I don't think he's going to be a top 10 quarterback. I think he's going to be a top 16, 17 quarterback, and then you got to decide what you do with that.
Well, because you got one more year with this great contract, and then after that...
Right, yeah, you don't have to do anything after this year. You could. If he had a great year, you could go ahead and move forward. He's got 4 years, so there's another year after this. But, yeah, the clock is ticking on figuring out what to do with him.
Would you have kept Dez Bryant at least for one more year?
No. I thought that decision made sense, not just for financial reasons. He'd had 3 straight years where he'd gone below 1,000 yards. And if you look up receivers who do that, they almost never go back to being 1,000-yard receivers. But if I was going to do that, I would have tried to do more than just say, okay, we'll add Allen Hurns and Deontay Thompson, and we'll draft somebody in the 3rd round, and we'll just see what comes out of that. Because they don't appear to have any idea what they have at wide receiver and what those guys can do. And most people think they don't have much, and I would agree with that.
How much importance do you place on this game Sunday night against the Giants?
A lot. Obviously, the NFL is the great thing about the NFL is there aren't many of these games, so you got to get going quickly. And one of these teams is 0-2. The Giants probably feel like they played pretty well against a team that might be really good. Cowboys didn't play very well against a team that I don't think is going to be very good, even if they were a playoff team last year. So I think they got to feel like got to get going somewhere. Got to beat the Giants.
If you could ask Jerry Jones one question and he had to answer it with complete honesty, what would it be?
Do you really truly believe your decision to be general manager the last 25 years in hindsight was the right thing to do? And he'll say yes, but if he answers, his normal answer would be yes. But if he has to answer it honestly, he'd have to think about that.
It feels like Jerry the owner has been great. Jerry the GM has been terrible.
Right, which I've written about that many times. And if you think about it, you think about all the other teams and the GMs. We talk more about coaches on the hot seat, but there's GMs on the hot seat all the time. There's all kinds of general manager change in this league. Jerry and Stephen Jones are never on the hot seat. Whatever they're doing, hey, if it doesn't work, we'll try something else. It's been 23 years since an NFC Championship game, but that's okay. We're not getting fired.
Well,
that's
Jerry the owner would have fired.
Circumstance.
Jerry the owner would have fired Jerry the GM.
He's gotten rid of 6 coaches. I would think he would have to have turned to the GM at some point if he had one.
Would he be willing to turn this team over to a coach who had total autonomy? Because obviously there's a reason why Jason Garrett is still the head coach, because Jerry feels like he's still the head coach.
He didn't give Parcells total autonomy, but he gave him more than anybody had since Jimmy Johnson. And he didn't really like that. And it sort of worked and it sort of didn't. It didn't work in the sense they didn't win any playoff games. The team got a lot better in those 4 years before Parcells left. I don't think at 76 years old he wants to take a step back and do that again. In fact, he was asked sometime in the last month would he trade his Hall of Fame jacket and status for a Super Bowl, and he said no. He wants to keep that jacket. It's a pretty nice jacket. So, he wants to win, and I truly believe he wants to win, but he understands what it's like when he is not in the middle of everything and he doesn't like it.
Yeah, but he's – can somebody tell him that you're part of the problem with the Cowboys?
He's been – that's been addressed a number of times, and he does not see it that way. He sees it as he and Steven are willing to take risks that other GMs who might be fired for these risks wouldn't dare do. So he thinks it's all about their ability to take risks, which they do every year in the second round, and they do other places. And he's got that in his head that works. And for now, there's no getting it out of there.
I know you got your Around the Horn meeting. Is that going on right now?
It's about to commence.
Okay.
And I'm not even sure who I'm playing against today.
It doesn't matter, Tim. I did tell you last time you were on that you were going to lose to Jackie McMullen, didn't I?
I think you nailed it.
Yeah, I did.
I think you got it exactly right.
Because, see, I've already seen today's episode.
That's amazing. That's impressive.
Yeah. I already
do today.
Yeah, and I know who's going to win, but I know people bet on this, so I'm not going to say it. But
so you don't want to say it.
Yeah, so I've already seen today's episode, and look, you have one really good line, and you'll be proud of it. I'm just saying, there's one really
good.
Yeah, one good line. But I don't think yes, Tim. What?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about your one line. Why did you follow me over the cliff with the Chargers going to the Super Bowl? I picked the Chargers, and the next thing I know, Dan Patrick picks the Chargers. Max Kellerman picks the Chargers. Adam Shine picks the Chargers. Everybody in the world picked the Chargers.
Oh, well, if I had known that those guys had picked the Chargers, I never would have picked the Chargers.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
But, Tim, I didn't know you picked the Chargers. I mean, I follow you. Yeah. I follow your dating life. But I
yes, you do.
Well, you helped me follow your dating life. By the way, is she still in the picture?
Yes, he's doing fine.
All right.
He's doing fine.
Yeah. You getting engaged?
Not yet, but you hold your horses there. Let's go back to the Chargers, can we?
Have fun today on Around the Horn, okay?
Thank you, Danny.
Okay, that's Tim Cowlishaw, Dallas Morning News columnist and Around the Horn star.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.